Ceramics, obviously. Ceramics was ceramics and textile. All of the, for me to start, I wanted to start with everything. Partially because, mainly because I wanted to draw a complete community. I was encouraged at the beginning, find a maker community that exists and build around that maker community, which is a very valid way to go. But what tends to happen is you build around a certain niche community, and it feels like that community, and then it's hard for people that aren't part of that community to feel comfortable, whether it's electronics and IT or an artist collective or things like that. So from day one, we wanted to have all the different mediums so that we would draw the widest variety of people, partially because we also need as many customers as possible, but also we believe that by meeting people outside of our kind of our bubble zones, that we are more inspired and we can learn new skills and share skills in a broader way. Also ceramics and textile. Of course it's not true, but they tend to be a more feminine related thing in Norway. And carpentry and electronics tend to be more male dominated, which of course it's purely not, it doesn't need to be. I mean, there's many people that cross over, but I think sometimes when we create certain venues that feel a certain way, that it can be blockers for people to come in. So again, we wanted to create a place that was gender neutral, where anybody can come in and do anything. One of our main ceramics people is a guy from Kenya, who is he's just a genius when it comes to ceramics. We have lots of women in the wood shop, and we've just really started pushing our electronics area as well, which I'll show you next. So also creating that as a venue that's open to everybody is important for us. I could ramble on, so I got to be careful. We got to get through all this. No pictures. Please don't share this on Facebook or anything. We want to be completely secret. So this is the electronics lab. We've actually, in the last month, we kind of ripped everything apart and redid it all. So there used to be this huge ventilation thing up here, so we've taken it all underneath, given each station its own ventilation and own lights and power sources and things. We're working with a potential new backer that wants to create and help us develop Makerspace tech. So this whole area can be used more, not just for hobby-based electronics, but also for real development for small to medium-sized companies that need a space to connect software and hardware possibilities. You know, for now, there's lots of fun maker things, like there's a guy that does a course with old radios, you know, like this. So with a very simple modification, you can Bluetooth them. And so people can connect their phones to cool old radios instead of throwing them away, which is what's happening. In the droves, they're throwing away these beautifully crafted old electronics that are actually very usable. And with a small modification, they can become usable again. So it's good for sustainability, it's good for reusing, and it's just cool. Also, we have one guy that's making his own bird feeder, Ivan. He will be here later, but you know, everything he's created, he 3D printed all the gadgets, he's doing everything, because he's works offshore. So he's home for 3 or 4 weeks, and he's gone for 2 or 3 weeks. So he wanted his birds to be able to eat while he was gone. So there's some sensors in here that created, and I think this is his first prototype, but you know, so it's everything from there to lots of LED lights going on and things like that.
Is this shelf for products?
No, this is just for random storage for people. And storage will become more and more an issue for us. Right now we're pretty flexible because we don't have a lot of users here all the time. We have about 60, 70 members right now. But of course they come and go. Some come once a month, some come every day. They come at different times. We're open every day from 9 to 9. In the long term, we'd like to have 24/7 access for people, but then we just need to figure out the security and how we do it and how all that, and that requires us some resources, but we'll get there. Good. go through here. Right now, this is set up for a vinyl press. When we got this building, we actually rent 570 kvadratmeter, but because the roof was so high, we could build all these floors. So that's why it's a little low. But we think it's kind of cool. It makes you feel like you're in like some weird electronics, cave. This is lots of screen printing. You can do a lot of, mostly what's happening is vinyl press, heat press. So you can do that on electronics, you can do that on other things. You can also do it on clothes and cups and things. In the long term, we'd like to do more real screen printing, but that just requires more access to water and a few other things. So we'll just grow as that comes. Again, part of the idea was that this could be that crossover between our textile shop and the electronics lab, where they can meet, engage each other, and find that kind of common connections. But as we grow in the electronics and the IT side, this will probably grow into that. So this will probably be more programming side, and we'll have electronics over on that side. But all the windows we have, I took out of a house on Lund that was getting torn down. So I ran there the night before and went in and took out all the windows. All the windows here and all the windows in the textile lab. The doors downstairs, the big doors down here is from a bar that was throwing away some doors. A school was throwing away doors. So I like to reuse the history of things, but I also like free stuff. So it's a good mixture there. But the windows were critical to me because I never wanted people to be isolated. I want you to see me and me to see you. I want to have to walk, to get to electronics, I got to walk through either ceramics or through textile. To get to the wood shop, I got to walk through the 3D printing shop. To get, so it just creates that possible connections that you need to have. It has a good, we have good ventilation up there. It has to, otherwise it gets really... The other ones you can open the doors. Actually, we'll open the windows in some of them. And when you use some of them, you can, even in the electronics lab, there's one of those big windows that open. Skylight. A skylight, so then that really creates a lot of ventilation. So here's textile. Textile, of course, is lots of things. We have a lot of redesigning clothes. Things like that, of course, but we also have people that have come in and made calèches for boats on this machine. Really strong industrial machine. We have machines for leather and shoes. We have old workhorses over here that were built to last for 500 years, and we got them cheap, and they function like a dream. We have new kind of fancy machines, some overlocks, and then we've just created this area up here to become basically a crafting area. Just to spread out. So always we have to be adjusting to the needs of the community and the demands. So they wanted more area for crafting, and jewelry making also we started doing. We can do jewelry in here, but also in the electronics lab we can use that for simple silversmithing as well. There's a glass blower in sitting that gives me all their cutoffs. So I get a box of this every once in a while, and then people just take them and make random things out of them. So you can make, they have all sorts of things. If you take these and put them in some people make cups in the ceramics lab, and you just drop a few of these into the cup before you burn it, and they melt down into the bottom of the cup, and they just look magical. People have made, I want to actually get a bunch of clear epoxy and just pour it over the whole thing and make a brick of epoxy that then I could use as a window. That would just be spectacular. Yeah, any questions or Okay. Have you only gotten this far? Yeah. You better hurry up. They've only gotten one room in, so I feel pretty good. Obviously, our wood shop. Also, we have some metal fabrication over here. I hope to get a bigger ventilator, and then we're going to get some blacksmithing ovens, actually, as well. We have a lot of stuff from old school techniques with wood, no electricity, no glue, no screws, and then we have good, solid, traditional machines for fabricating things. Today, this is one of the workshops. Will be just hand carving and working with wood in the old ways, which is cool. That's kind of what we like to do too, is to take kind of the traditional maker skills that have been around for hundreds of years and then combine them with new technology. And more than just connecting the machines, connecting the people. People that, like one of the guy that's working with you guys today, that he just lives to take trees out of the forest and cut them into squares so that you can cut them back into circles. So when he starts to work with Maximilian, for example, who's all into high tech and the CNC and the laser, and they start to collaborate, the things that they can put together are just amazing. So that's wood and a bit of metal and more to come. And now we'll move into the prototyping lab. I felt like I was going too slow, so this actually makes me feel good. You didn't even tell me how to do Hey, Bouillon and Max, I think you guys should probably split up into two and go giveaways, because we just got a few minutes left before we get on with the thing. So, what? 15 minutes. Well, at your pace, though. Digital fabrication, CNC machine, of course. We went with a non-shop bot. We were encouraged to get kind of the name brands, but they were just way too expensive for us. And actually, we ended up with much better machines for probably a quarter of the price. What it meant was we had to learn the machines. So we've had to learn how to get in there and change them and modify them and fix them ourselves. But they're pretty straightforward, and that's given us an ability to, one of the things we want to share out with potential makerspaces is how can you buy really great machines a lot more economically. Same with our laser cutter. It's the same one in Epilogue, which was, again, we were encouraged at the beginning to go Epilogue and ShopBot, was probably 300,000 kroner for the laser cutter. That what we were kind of looking for, and we got this one, which is bigger and stronger, for about 65. We got this for about 170, installed, delivered, and with a technician. And there have been some challenges along the way to learn how to use them and modify them and fix them, but it enabled us to start with the great machines. And this is a vacuum table. It's really strong. This is a beast of a machine, and it's lovely. So we hope to be able to share some of our processes, and to enable makerspaces to get more bang for their buck, as they say in the US. CNC, you can carve out lots of things. This is a Stratocaster carved out in cherry. So it's basically creating the 3D model and having it done. When you do the front side, you have to flip it over. When we flipped it over, we started cutting the front on the back again, which is a great thing about the maker community. We learn by failing. And in essence, what it does is it just shows the process. You know, the first round of the router cuts a really rough cut, and then the second round it comes through and smooths everything out. It's quite amazing. So we've done a lot of chairs, and like all of our stools, of course, were made here. A few days before we opened a year ago, I woke up in the middle of the night like, we don't have any chairs. And I thought I was going to call a school or a church or borrow chairs or something. And I talked to Boyan, and I was like, can't you just make something like, and I drew on the marker board, like a circle and a triangle and fits together. And he was like, it'll take me a while. I'd have to design it. But I was like, just see what you can do. And within 10 minutes, you know, on his computer, he's got this little, I was like, yeah, that's great, make one. And 20 minutes later I had one, and I said, perfect, now make me 30. And we just read the machine, and that's all of our stools all over the place. And then I said, I need bar stools. So we just made bar stools. So, of course, there's a lot of after work you have to do. You have to sand them and put them together. But it was amazing how quickly we could go from a scribble on a marker board to a finished product that people actually want to buy from us, But of course, this is what we all know. That's the magic of makerspaces and the maker community, is that we can get ideas out really quickly. And sometimes they work, and sometimes they don't work. But you find out they don't work much faster, and that's really good. And then you figure out what you can do. So we love that process. This is our laser cutter. I assume everyone's rather familiar with laser cutters and 3D printers and stuff. This does the same thing, only it does with a laser. So it can, engrave really fine details. It can carve out things. It can create pictures. It can work on glass. It can etch in glass. It can etch on stone. It can take plastic. We can make boxes and balls and basically anything. And what I love about the laser cutter, it's about a 2-hour certification course, and almost anybody can start making anything they want. It's so simple. Now, the challenge is to teach people how to really work with vector files and to design in 3D and design things. But you can take JPEGs, you can take PDFs, and you can engrave, you can cut out, and you can start making things. I've had countless people. I had some architects that came in that all of a sudden they were spending all their time making all their wedding decorations, which were spectacular, So it really opens up this ability to create things that you could never do without this technology and this machine.
Our laser certification course, there was an architect student, and she almost started to cry because she had been cutting like each layer and all the hours and hours.
Yeah.
This is great.
I can imagine. We made like a gazillion stencils, So, some of the street people really love us because they can come in and make stencils. But, like stencils too, shovel. Is that the right word? Shovel. It's so easy on a laser cutter. And you can make them really quick instead of having to go with a tiny knife and cutting out. And so it really, this probably the next, when I have money and we need to invest, I'll buy another laser cutter because it's really used and it's really used well. And it really is a low threshold way. People get really involved with the laser cutter, and then they start looking over to that CNC machine. But the CNC machine, in particular, that's about a 3-day certification course. Because you have to know how fast the thing is turning, how hard is the material, how deep do you go, how fast do you move. All those things can destroy your material or break the bit. You can hardly break the machine. But that requires a lot more time and understanding of how those things. And also you're dealing in 3D because you're dealing in depths and angles. Where here it's mostly 2D. It's just cutting out and etching. So you can turn the heat up a little bit and go down a little bit more. But it's
2.5D.
2.5D. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I love this machine, and it's really fun. It's good to see people just. And I love it too because it engages everybody. It really is a machine that the carpenters love, the ceramics people love. I had the ceramics ladies in here making stamps for their ceramics out with the laser cutter, and that was just cool. And the 3D printers and printing out buttons for 3D for people in the textile and stuff. So
is it a good idea to not have this if you're dealing a lot with kids, or is it not a problem?
No, it's not a problem at all. You know, as long as they know what they're doing. We have yet to start. We're just starting to engage kids. I wanted to start with an adult population, and now we're going to start engaging kids. But really, it's pretty safe if they understand. My goal in the next year is that I have 12 to 15-year-olds that are just members here. Because I think, we all know, I know some 12, 13, 14-year-olds that I trust way more than some 40-year-olds I know. And that's just reality, you know. And if they can show themselves and they can focus, and many of them can, they can actually find a place to be, and they can come in and work on the projects and develop alongside the community. But of course, because they're kids, you have to have certain safeguards around it. But these machines are actually pretty safe for them once they learn how to use them, more so than like a wood shop. I'm more scared of them going in the wood shop than I am them using the laser cutter, because most of everything that goes on here is on the machine. And if worst case scenario, they'll just go too slow and they'll burn their wood, or they won't like fry. They're not going to shoot themselves with a laser or anything.
Yeah, it's closed.
It's all enclosed. Yeah. Actually, for kids, I think the laser cutter is it's such a magic tool. I think it'd be a great way for them. It's the fastest way to go from idea to product, I have to say, because other than clay, clay's real fast, but you know, to get details, it takes time. With this thing, I mean, literally, you just start cutting things out and making things, and it's really kind of ignites that process. And I think that's what I love to see in people is they re-engaging that creative abilities. I think a lot of people have been blocked, whether they had a bad art teacher or you know they tried to do something, failed, or they were working in a wood shop with a really bad saw, but they thought it was them. I think they're bad at carpentry because they couldn't cut a straight line, but nobody could cut a straight line with that tool, or they were using the wrong tool for the wrong thing. So people stop and they think, oh, I'm not creative, or they just kind of they stop. But of course, I believe we're all very creative. And if we can loosen that up and re-engage them and give them the right tools, a little bit of knowledge in the right community, we can start to turn that back on again. But you know, we all believe in that. So, quickly here. So here's our 3D printer room. What's funny is we went the other direction when it came to 3D printing, and we bought the Corvettes at the time. You know, this was a name brand created by a Norwegian guy. They were used by Tesla, Google, Apple were all using these machines. It seemed like the safest bet. They're really high quality. And so we put out the money to buy good machines, and about 6 months ago they went bankrupt. So it was really like, what? Not only did they didn't, all that happened, we went to their website to order some new parts, and it just had a note that said, thank you, we've loved serving you and the community, the makers in the 3D printing world, but we're shut down, so have a good life. It was just like, what? You know? So we're having to adjust and adapt, and that's okay. You know, they're still lovely, great machines, but I think
how much did you have to pay for them?
I think we paid around $35,000 a piece for them. They're 30 by 30. They're non-proprietary. They can, you know, you have all the adjustments you can do to them. There's the magic is in the head, I guess. I don't really know. You can ask Julian more about it. But as we all know with technology, the cost and the quality, the cost is going down, the quality is going up. And what cost 35,000 kroner a year and a half ago now is probably in the 12 to 15,000 kroner range for better quality. And that's, of course, that's just reality. But it was interesting for us because in all of our prototyping tools, digital fabrication tools, the one that we decided, okay, let's go for the name brand. That's the one that's like punched us in the belly. Where the ones that we went with the off brands, they have proved to be amazing. So we don't know what we're going to do. We'll see what happens. But we'll just keep trying to buy more. We want to buy some different ones. But also we have them here. We've been really wrestling with where to have the 3D printers. Originally they were going to be up where the t-shirt kind of area is. But my fear was that all of a sudden the 3D printers become an electronics tool. And then it becomes kind of a blocker for people. Oh, to go in the electronics lab can already be a bit intimidating for people. And I didn't want that. I want this to be accessible by everyone. So by putting it in its own room, actually it becomes its own thing. And it's accessible to everyone. And it's not locked into any other thing. It's just a tool for everyone. But as we grow and expand, I'm sure we'll have some up there. But I always want to have some that are accessible to everybody so that there's not that challenge in order to engage them. And also just to teach people the possibilities of the 3D. Are you guys familiar with 3D printing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody? Mostly? Yeah. That's exactly why in our workshops today, it's all analog, you know. I didn't want to have any laser cutting or 3D printing or anything. It's all like, you're going to get on a wheel and make pottery and carve wood and make felt and do stuff old school. So, but it's a magical thing, 3D printing. And still people, when they come in and they're just introduced to it, I think that's what's amazing. Because they think it's this magic. And it is, but it's not. It's just a simple tool. And once you understand how it works, it's amazing. And then people can start to engage it as a tool for themselves. So, there you go. And then we just have offices like this all the way down, and then in the very back, we have like a meeting. I can show you. They're probably not done yet. So.
Ja. Vi har på Kristiansand Makerspace.
So this is our meeting, pitch room, dinner room, course room, lunch room, sometimes me getting away from everybody, shutting the door room, meditation room, you know. I love marker boards. If every wall in this place was a marker board, I would be really good with that. So oftentimes when we're having meetings, even when I don't have to use a marker board, I'm like, okay guys, well if next Saturday we're going to have cake, then what kind of cake should it be? Strawberry? And everyone's like, do you have to marker board all the time? But somehow it just helps me. So. And Bouillon, he's always making, we had an event, we had a gaming night a few nights ago. We had game programmers. We had escape room people that had created an escape room. We had cosplay. And then we had some guys that was trying to start an esports bar in the city. So everything referring to different kinds of developing of games. And so all the speakers got a little brain that says gaming on my mind. And then he spray painted them all gold. So Bouillon, like many of us, you know, whenever I say, Bouillon, could you just make a little thing I can give away? And he's like, okay, and it always is like way more amazing than I expected to be. Like, and then of course he starts telling me, see, this is the synapses and how we work together. It all comes down into these funnels and they come and they all converge here. And this is actually an equilips and a anyways. So that's our space, and yeah.